I can see the parade. I can feel it. I can, 5 degrees brisk, rolling down, hearing the bus roll over, all the salt and the ice.
Yeah.
Thousands upon thousands of fans filling up downtown Buffalo. I can see where we're going up on the steps at City Hall. I see it all. So you gotta make it turn it into a reality.
I mean, who hasn't had that moment where you're thinking, what is it going to be like when my team wins a championship? What am I going to say? Who am I going to hug? What are the emotions going to go through my head? And that is Josh Allen there, asked by friend of the program, Kyle Brandt from Good Morning Football, NFL Network, have you already written the speech when you're holding the Lombardi and when the Bills finally win that Super Bowl? That was one of the best moments from the final episode of Hard Knocks training camp with the Buffalo Bills. This, in turn, is the final episode of the official Hard Knocks podcast. Welcome to the show. My name is Andrew Siciliano. Coming up, the great Steve Tasker, who probably has had that thought as well. He was part of the Bills team that went to the Super Bowl 4 times in a row and lost it. Steve Tasker will join us, and the executive producer of NFL Films, the great Ken Rodgers, who oversees this project and has overseen Hard Knocks for so many years. Ken will join us with his final thoughts on this final episode and the entire season as well. This final episode, as all final episodes for all the years of Hard Knocks have always been, is about cutdown day. Is about going from 90 all the way down to 53. It is about all these men fighting and fighting and fighting and trying to realize their dream of not only winning the Super Bowl, but for many of them simply making the team. And cutdown day is by far the most difficult day in the National Football League. We're not actually inside the room where Brandon Beane, the general manager, and where Sean McDermott, the head coach, actually tell these guys that they're going to get cut. But it is so important for that FaceTime. All the coaches will tell you, I need to tell my guy eye to eye, face to face, why you didn't make the team, and here's what I thought you did, and here's why I think you're still going to play in the National Football League one day. Minnesota Vikings coach Kevin O'Connell last week said he needs to do it face-to-face because that he has been on the other side of it before. As a former player who had been cut multiple times, that it meant that much more to him to deliver the news to these players now that he is cutting them because he has been on the other side of the table. Anyway, I digress. What you need to know is that a long list of these players have been told when they are cut that they are coming back on the practice squad if no other team wants them. So you're finding out you didn't make the team, but you're also finding out, hey, here's the silver lining. We still want you here. Like, your key card is still going to work. You're going to get paid well, and you're going to be the next man up. It's like kind of being the understudy on a big Broadway show. Hey, like, you're not going to be there on Friday night, but maybe you could be there for the Tuesday matinee. We're going to pay you well. And then one day you may get your shot. So, like, here's the list of the guys that got cut, but we're told they're going to be coming back. Shane Buechele and Frank Gore and Stephen Gosnell, the rookie wide receiver that we saw make that nice deep catch in episode 1. And Travis Clayton, the British offensive lineman. Dan Feeney, our guy Jimmy Charlo. Those guys, they've been told they're coming back. And when they do come back to re-sign for the practice squad, you see Gore and Buechele and Charlo, they hand them their iPads back and say, hey, same iPad. But they had to give it up to begin with just in case another team claimed them. So imagine being told, go home or go to the hotel. Charlo says he's only been there 18 days. Go home and just wait. We want you back. Today you've been fired with a promise to be rehired, but you have to go home and sit and stew and wait for your phone to ring and watch TV and check on X and social media to see everyone else getting cut. And maybe your agent calls and says, hey, I hear this team may claim you. Or if you don't get claimed, I know of another team that's interested. And you sit there and wait, literally with no control. Like, what will become of me? Now, with all that said, not everybody is guaranteed a spot on the practice squad, and not everybody is asked back. Let's talk about Casey Rodgers. He's the defensive lineman with the long hair. You see him in that opening scene where Daquan Jones invited all the D linemen together in that barn with that fantastic meal for what kind of feels like a Last Supper. I mean, Daquan says, cut days tomorrow. This is our last time together as a group. There's a finality to this dinner. Casey Rodgers is the guy sitting there saying, hey, at one point, I didn't even think you guys all knew my name. This is his dream to play for the Buffalo Bills. He and his wife are from Syracuse, New York, about 2.5 hours down the thruway to the east.
If I were to be able to go back 10 years ago and tell myself that I was going to run out of that tunnel someday, whether it was for a preseason game or for whatever game, I wouldn't have believed it.
And it's almost as if he couldn't believe he was at that dinner as well. Like he said, like, this is my dream here, to play for the Buffalo Bills. And he had his football. By the way, it's not uncommon for young players to have memorabilia signed by teammates, especially veterans. That's very common. But he brought the football seemingly knowing he's going to get cut the next day. So everybody signs the football. And then when he does get cut, you see him walking out of the building with his football. Like little kid who is able to tell his friends, his family, his grandkids one day, I got to play for the Bills and I have this autographed football to prove it. Also, I thought it was cool. You saw he had the long hair. Casey Rodgers, when he was a freshman at Nebraska, before he went to Oregon, made a deal with his best friend, who is no longer playing football, but that neither of them would cut their hair until their career ended. So that's why he has the long hair. He hasn't cut his hair since 2018. It's been 7 years since Casey Rodgers got a haircut. And Casey, I'm hoping you don't cut your hair anytime soon. As we record this right now, Casey Rodgers still has not signed with another team, so he still has the glorious locks. So while it's heartbreaking for Casey Rodgers, it's great for Jimmy Charlo, the darling of Hard Knocks. We called that one. I told you he was going to stick around. Or Shane Buechele, or Frank Gore, who had a fantastic preseason. They all come back to the practice squad. They're all back in the building the next day. They wait 24 hours. They return. They get their iPad back. They sign the contracts. They're told, hurry up and get to the meeting. Here's how much money you're making. Welcome back to the team. And Sean McDermott, in that meeting, tells the practice squad, you guys are important.
Practice squad, you are a big part of our football team, right? You are a big part of the team for good reason. Okay, your development is key, okay, but also first and foremost, you are here to be a great practice squad player, which means giving the look that's on the card. Special teams, O&D the same way.
Now, there's also like the mental game of getting called back to the practice squad that totally can screw with you. You don't see Daquan Hardy in this episode, but if I can tell you about him, he's a defensive back who was cut, and then he came back the next day for the practice squad, right? So the same process that Buechele and Gore and Charlo go through. And then he got cut again the next day because the Bills found somebody else off waivers that they wanted to bring in. So you're cut, but told, hey, practice squad, you come back and you're back in the building, you sign your new contract, and then you get cut again the next day. So you get cut twice in 3 days. You want to talk about an emotional roller coaster? That's awful. And if you're wondering what happened to Zach Davidson or what happened to Mike White, they were both cut, were not offered jobs on the practice squad. We had seen their story arc during Hard Knocks. Both of them, as we record this, KJ Hamler as well, are still out there looking for other NFL jobs. And then you have the story of Jordan Poyer. Now, if you don't follow the Bills, if you're new to Hard Knocks this year, you may not know that Poyer played there for 7 years. He was a multiple-time Pro Bowler. He was a stalwart, a core member of that great Bills defense. He went to Miami last year, and he's been sitting around at home. But Brandon Beane, after the cut from 90 to 53, and when they brought Poyer back to the practice squad, you see him flying back into town, said that he had been talking to Poyer since May. Because while Hard Knocks didn't cover it, a big story, football story this year for the Bills is maybe lack of confidence in the safety position in some of the young players. So in their back pocket, Jordan Poyer, reach into their back pocket and bring him out. Also, a fun fact about Jordan Poyer, other than amazing eyes, the fact that at the Pro Bowl 2 years ago, he had a long drive, won the competition, of 320 yards. If you don't know golf, point of reference here, Rory McIlroy, who won the Masters, right now is averaging 323 yards this year on his drives, and he is one of the best. Jordan Poyer can drive the ball 320. All right, enough of me talking. How about this? Let's talk to Steve Tasker. It is a pleasure. It is an honor. I am thrilled that this guy made time for us today on your official Hard Knocks podcast. He is a Bills legend. He is there every day. It is the great Steve Tasker on the program with us. Hi, Steve. How are we doing?
Doing great. Thanks for having me on, Andrew. It's nice to be here.
And we are ready for the regular season, I know, but Hard Knocks is all about training camp here as we pull the curtain back on the Buffalo Bills. You've been watching. You've been also there, obviously, for every step of the way. As we say goodbye to the Bills this summer on Hard Knocks, what has stood out to you?
There hasn't been much drama. Certainly there's some great guys on the team. You know, the Jimmy Charlo story, the Damar Hamlin story. It's a roster that was, despite the broadcast and some of the questions we had going into the final preseason game, the roster was largely set in June. Got some new guys on the practice squad, but this is a group that's very deep. It's very talented. There's not much drama. Josh is a great dude. He's a great leader. There doesn't seem to be very much tension in the room. So if you're looking for some drama and some tension and character, you're not going to get it. This has been a pretty good camp. Very stress-free. They had a string of injuries. That was a problem, but nothing was major. The most major one was Max Hairston, and he's probably going to be back in a few weeks. So not much there to sink your teeth into if you like the drama and the conflict and some of the stuff that goes on in training camps in the NFL. But yeah, this is a team that's kind of rolling pretty hard, pretty well right now, and they have big expectations for this season.
Sometimes it's good, isn't it? Especially when you have such high expectations, especially the way the season's ended the last few years, to just be the quiet team that has the spotlight but doesn't necessarily have that drama.
Yeah, they're not showing off, that's for sure. I mean, they're just kind of hanging in there. It's impossible to say this for certain, from this end of the schedule. But as this season lays out in front of them, you can imagine they're going to be right there again. They're going to be in the playoffs. They're going to win a playoff game again. They're going to get the divisional round or the championship round, and they're going to face Baltimore or Kansas City or both. And it's going to be up to this team to play well on that day. They have not been able to do that for the last 5 years. They've run into Kansas City for 5 straight years, and they can't play better than Kansas City. They can't make that one more play that Kansas City seems to be able to make to get over the hump. Certainly, you keep taking swings at it, and this is a really good football team. They have been good enough to go to and win it all for 5 years. But unfortunately, there's always 2 or 3 or 4 other teams that are good enough to go to and win it in those years as well. You got to beat those teams on those days when your season either advances or it ends. They have not been able to win their last game, and that's where they're sitting.
You said they haven't been better than the Chiefs, but you could argue that Josh has done everything that he can.
Yeah.
I was looking down at my notes, Steve. In 13 playoff games, look, they've won 7 of them. 25-4 touchdown to interception ratio. Josh won the MVP. They're 25-4 in the playoffs is bonkers, and yet there's no trip to the Super Bowl. So, and I think this is part of the Hard Knocks storyline as well. Is like, what more can this man do?
What they do is, and they've been pretty good at it, is they have gotten the absolute best players available that they could afford fit under the salary cap. They've built their roster with the best players they can find, and this coaching staff has really done a great job of formulating their defensive scheme and their offensive scheme around the guys they have around Josh. They let those guys do what they do best. Last year, defensively, they were just middle of the road, except for their ability to get turnovers. They hung their hat on it and got them all the way to the AFC Championship game. They couldn't get off the field on third down on defense. They couldn't get sacks on a regular basis on defense. They couldn't stop the run regularly on defense. They had moments, up and down, but this is a team that was middle of the road defensively, and got them to the AFC Championship game because they could get turnovers. In fact, they won the division round of the playoffs against a what you could say is a better Baltimore team because they got the ball away from Baltimore 3 times in that game. That was the difference. That's how close those two teams were. So they're going to be right there again. But you're right. Josh has been clutch during the playoff runs. He is money, but he needs help. You gotta have 47 guys in the coaching staff. Everybody's got to do it. Somebody other than Josh at some point is going to have to make a play that gets the opponent off the field or gives the ball back to Josh so he can win it. They've done a lot of it, but at the end of the game, when you're in these one possession games in playoffs, you got to do it right then, and they have not been able to help Josh out at that moment.
When you see Sean McDermott talking to the team, saying like, "Hey, we need more intensity." Take me behind the scenes. How real is that? And what level of frustration that we see from Sean McDermott? Where is it with the rest of this team getting ready for week 1?
Well, that remains to be seen. I think they're very encouraged by the young guys they drafted. 4 of their first 5 draft picks were defensive players. Max Harrison, the corner, and then 3 defensive linemen. You got TJ Sanders in the second round, Landon Jackson, and Deion Walker. All of those guys have huge upsides. I think they've been very happy with the way TJ Sanders and Deion Walker have played. Landon Jackson has been good, not great, good, steady. I think this is a team, at least a defense, that needs a game wrecker. They've been looking for one. Joey Bosa could be that guy if he's got a little gas in his tank. If you're a defensive front and you're thinking Joey Bosa will come in and he'll unlock Greg Rousseau on the other side, if you need somebody to unlock you, you're not the guy. You got to do it. You got to have a guy. That's the guy who unlocks you is the guy. And that's what they're hoping Joey Bosa can do. That's what they're hoping TJ Sanders can do from down inside. Certainly the front has needed some juice. And they're hoping these 3 young guys that they drafted, along with Michael Hoyt and Joey Bosa, Hoyt obviously on suspension, but they think they're thinking they can get that done with these groups. They're very encouraged by it. Matt Milano coming back healthy is an absolute playmaker. He is an all-timer when he's been available. The last couple of years been tough with injuries. But if you're going to ask what it's going to take for this team to help Josh, they're going to go as far as this defense takes them.
There are a couple of moments that really hit me this year. Damar Hamlin, in his journal, writing his book. KJ Hamler talking to himself, saying, like, I didn't come this far for no reason, right? Listing his injuries and the heart ailment. He thought he was gone when he was driving himself to the hospital in Denver. I mean, like, how scary is that? Is there a moment that's touched you this year?
Yeah, I can really relate to where Jimmy Charlo was. I don't know if anybody on the planet can relate to where Damar has been. You talk about a comeback player of the year. Damar came back from the dead, literally. And it's unbelievable. And, he's a beloved member of that roster. But a guy like Jimmy Charlo is a guy like, it reminds me of where I was early in my career. I was athletic, could play, had some stuff, but I had a lot to learn. But I had some instincts as well. And Charlo going through everything he did, coming in in the longest of shots, coming in, they were getting injuries. They brought him in. They needed a body. And he came in and just flew around and played well. And the stuff that's striking to me is the audio they have when he got on the field in Tampa is playing nickel. He didn't even know what to do. He's asking guys, what do I do here? What am I doing? What am I doing? And he's just got to just drop back and be a football player. The amazing part of that is the coaches know exactly what he's going through. They know they put him in an unwinnable situation almost. And yet the guy goes out there and makes a couple of tackles, makes a play, acquits himself very well. It's not going to surprise me when Jimmy Charlo gets on the active roster at some point this season or at some point in his career, maybe next year or whatever. The guy's going to be an NFL player because of instances and the situation and handling yourself in those moments. You can't say enough about it.
That's awesome. Can't wait to see that. And for those who don't know, Steve was a 9th round pick. So to your point, you said you've been there. Jimmy Charlo undrafted, but we don't have 9 rounds anymore. Right, we have 7. We have 7 rounds these days. Let's try to take your era and put it in the Hard Knocks era. I was talking to Andre Reed about this a couple of weeks ago. He had some fun stuff. What would Hard Knocks have been like with your team?
Yeah, they would have spent more time off the field filming us than they would have on the field. Yeah, we were in Fredonia, New York, at little Fredonia, SUNY Fredonia, State University of New York system. It's one of the SUNY schools. We were down there. It was a soccer school. So big, wide open fields. And, you go to Bill's training camp now, you saw it at St. John Fisher. The stands are full. They've got VIP tents. They got parking problems. They got crowd management out there. They got a little festival outside the stadium where it's interactive, fun stuff for kids to do. We had snow fences, and there was nobody. They were holding nobody back. There was nobody watching us practice back in the day. And it was 2-a-days practices in pads. You had an hour and a half in the morning and an hour and 45 or 2 hours in the afternoon. I've made this point too. They're so much better in today's NFL for a couple of reasons. And training camp's a great example. Back in my day, 40 years ago, 3 days into training camp, you're going into your 6th practice in the afternoon of the 3rd day. And everybody on the field is just trying to get through it. You just want to survive. You don't feel good. You got aches and pains. You're just trying to play as hard as you can and make it look like you're giving a full effort. Now, you have 90 guys out there who play fast, and they're trying to get better, and they're improving, and the pace of practice is crisp. The guys have energy. They're pumping as much water as they can get into them. They give them time to rest and recuperate, and they study the film right after practice. It is a well-oiled machine, particularly at this point for the Buffalo Bills with Sean McDermott. And after 8 years of doing it, they've got a protocol there that they are very on point. And that's a big difference. As the years have rolled by, sports science has been accepted as part of the thing, and they maximize the player's ability to stay healthy. And the players have the mindset that's very different than the ones we had when we played. It's not about getting through 2-a-days. It's about getting better every day. And that subtle difference in your mindset is tangible when you watch these guys practice.
Last thing for you. I saw you on with Rich recently talking about like parties at Jim's house after the game, right? Bring everyone over. Again, plain make-believe here. If we had done it with your crew, who would have been the star of the show? Maybe not a Jimmy Charlo, or maybe a Jimmy Charlo, or the Josh, whomever. Like, who would have been the standout?
Well, I mean, you've got Bruce Smith, who would have been our version of Josh Allen. I mean, Bruce is the best guy to have ever rushed a passer in the league ever. So he was a breed apart. Jim was a great dude to follow around, and you would have a guy like Darryl Talley, who was not a well-known star player, although Buffalo fans loved him, and we did too. And he was beloved in our locker room. He would have been a striking character for Hard Knocks to get around, because as unknown or as just a guy in the national setting of linebackers in the league, he was a guy. He was a character in our locker room who would hold Bruce Smith, Jim Kelly, Thurman Thomas, Andre Reed by the throat. Say, no, that's not the right way to do it. I don't care if you want, he was the enforcer of the entire team, and he knew right from wrong. The rest of us, guys down the roster, trusted Darryl implicitly, loved him. He was the heart and soul of the team because he kept us on a moral compass of, listen, we're going to have this kind of mindset. We're not going to let you get selfish. You're not doing that. We're not going to let you can be a star, but you can't be selfish in our locker room. He was an incredibly important ingredient into what made that team special. We all, even to this day, we all still love that guy to death. And, so that's probably one of the people who would be a surprising addition for people outside the Bills Mafia. Darryl would have been a guy that Hard Knocks couldn't take its eyes off of.
He was a great one. Darryl Talley, 56, huge smile on his face. Andre Reed, by the way, I also kind of said Darryl Talley here as well. Steve Tasker, also a great one, and not selfish, beyond generous with his time. We appreciate you, man. It's going to be an amazing ride. Have a great season. Thanks for doing this. Hope to connect soon.
Andrew, thanks for having me. I appreciate it.
A big theme of Hard Knocks this year, thank you, Steve, is kind of exercising the demons of Steve's team that went to 4 straight Super Bowls and couldn't win, of easing the pain of a city. One man who knows that so well is the man that produced The Four Falls of Buffalo, the great NFL Films documentary about Steve Tasker's team. And that's Ken Rodgers. His title is executive producer at NFL Films. I don't know that that does Ken Rodgers justice, truly. All the hats he wears, including the showrunner of Hard Knocks since back in 2007. Ken, thanks for joining the pod. Good to see you. How are you?
I'm doing great. It's great to be here with you. Love your work. Have for many years, and to have you part of the Hard Knocks family now makes my heart feel good.
Well, it makes mine feel good as well. I'm flattered, I'm honored, and the feeling and the respect is mutual. I've told you that countless times. I'm an NFL Films devotee, a fanboy, if you will. So being part of this has been beyond cool. As an NFL Films fanboy, of course, we've told the story of the Bills before, and this Bills team is different than most Hard Knocks teams because they're a winner. Right? They're a team that's always knocking on the door of the Super Bowl. And that was one of the challenges this year is how do you show the drama behind the curtain on a team that is used to winning? How has that challenge presented itself this summer?
Yeah, especially when there is no drama. So that's the problem. How to show drama when there isn't drama. We haven't had a team as good as this that's been to the championship game since the 2010 Jets. Rex Ryan had taken the team to the championship game. And then, of course, after they appeared on the series, went back to the championship game. That team was very loud, not a lot of drama either, but they were loud because they followed their coach. And so this Bills team on Hard Knocks reminds me of the Jets in a weird way, in that they're probably tonally completely different than Rex Ryan's Jets. They're not loud, but they're genuine to who they are. And I think the mark of a team that's really good is one that's comfortable with who they are and don't try to beat anything else. Rex was very clear. We are loud. We're brash. We're going to come after you. We want people to come here and try to beat us. Like, go ahead, try to beat us. The Bills are much different in that, hey, we're doing things as a process. We're taking one step at a time. We're going to do the Sean McDermott way, which is very clear-minded and not the bully thing that Rex loved to play. So the fact that they were semi-dramaless fits their personality just as much as the Jets fit Rex's personality. So I feel like we really got a genuine look at them. This is one of the more honest shows that I think we've been able to show because they're so confident they don't need to have any drama. They're just doing their job.
You do see, though, Sean McDermott, especially the week leading in to the joint practice in Chicago, saying, I need more, right? Like, I need more from you guys, especially the down-the-roster guys. And we see the reaction when they lay an egg on national television. He's still very much himself, though. Authentic is the key word here. It's not like you're going to go tell him, hey, be Rex, and can you yell, let's go get a bleepity-bleepity snack?
That's right. Authentic is the right word. I should have used that word because it's exactly what McDermott's been and the entire team, including the negatives. I mean, things were not great going into show 4 after that Bears loss. I mean, 38-0. We've never had a loss like that on Hard Knocks. And I think there'd be a lot of drama many years in Hard Knocks past if there was a loss like that. There really wasn't. It was, okay, now let's fix it. There's a confidence there that's not feeling in the building, oh boy, we're in trouble. We just got beat 38-0 by the Chicago Bears. It's all about the day in, day out process. So in show 4, when they get back on track and they're feeling good, and we showed, Josh with his mechanics and working on the details, you start to feel, oh, there's no panic here. They might, lose a game in the season and they're going to be okay because they're that experienced of a team.
So Josh Allen, the MVP, movie star wife, he's someone everyone knows. We're going to tell that story. I mean, he's on every commercial. He's the face of the franchise. But then you get the unexpected Jimmy Charlo moment, for example. That's something you could have never planned on. Like a guy from Army who they signed off the couch, who just shows up, who's telegenic. Like the first time you put him on camera, you're like, all right, good looking dude. Like, let's follow this guy. Did you have your aha moment at that, like collectively, did everyone go, okay, look, he's the star. Let him steal the show.
We did. I mean, it's an instinctual thing. What you feel when you see Jimmy Charlo is what we feel as fans when we're watching the footage, the raw footage. We're just fans too. We're television viewers. I go home and watch TV. I know when somebody's like, "Whoa, who's that?" And it all started with that meeting where Coach McDermott called him out for his play in the game.
Where are you, Jimmy? That's a heck of a play, man. I know you just joined us a couple days ago, man. Great job. That's playoff caliber work right there, man.
We hadn't necessarily followed him in the game against the Giants. We hadn't seen him beforehand. He was a new camp face. But when McDermott led the team in giving him a round of applause for his special teams play, and we cut to the close-up of him, everyone said, "Who's that? Who's that? Well, I like that guy."
This was an entirely different moment. You don't often see a reaction from the player, but here is Sean pumping up a guy that just got here, and you can see that smile start to form on his face. And you're like, okay, that's different.
Yeah, and it's different for someone like that than it would be for Tom Brady or Josh Allen. With Josh Allen, we're looking to he's everywhere. We're looking to drill down into what makes him so special as a quarterback, which we didn't show for. But with somebody like Jimmy Charlo, they're much more close. They're closer to us as viewers. You know, that he's just trying to get a job as a young man. He's not a superstar quarterback. He's not a super well-paid guy. He's got a dream and he's chasing it, which we can all empathize and sympathize with when things go good and when bad. So when he starts to smile there, it's impossible not to start to smile yourself. Like, wow, hey, coach noticed him. That's sort of like when I do a good job, you know, in a new role. Hey, this might work, and you're suddenly cheering for him right away. And so we knew right away, let's dive into his story. And of course, you know, it pays off this week in the finale.
Yeah, it's gold, and he's going to be there, not on the 53, but as part of the practice squad. Those vulnerable moments where Brandon Beane and Sean McDermott have to tell these guys that have been working their entire lives for this opportunity, you know, thumbs up or thumbs down, right? Like, hey, you're good, but you're not good enough. Or, hey, it's not going to be here, but I know you're going to make it one day. Or, listen, we're going to cut you, but we're going to bring you back.
Brandon Beane talks about that a lot this episode, about how difficult it was and how difficult the math is to cut down to 53 players. It's everyone's least favorite day. Cut down day is our crew's least favorite day. It's our editor's least favorite day. It's really difficult to see people like Jimmy Charlo, who you fall in love with as a person, have to leave the building. And then you hope for him to come back like he did as part of a practice squad, but you never know when that's going to happen or if it's going to happen. So it's a real vulnerable moment, and one that I think it's the end line. You know, unlike other shows, this show has an end point, picking the 53-man roster. That's what the last episode's always been about, and there's a lot of complicated math that goes into it that Beane expresses.
I'm sure you get asked this all the time, but spinning it forward, who's the team that you want to do that you haven't done?
Every team that has not been on the show. I'm not retiring until we get every team on the show. So I hope I'm not stuck here too long. I'm in my 50s and I'm like, well, you know, we got to get this done in the next decade. Everyone who hasn't been on, we want to see. We want to see the Packers on one day for the history. I want to see Seattle on one day for the location. You know, like I can't wait to fly the drones over the lake into the facility. It's going to be great. Everyone really has a great story. I'm particularly really interested in our in-season show coming up to do the NFC East. I grew up outside of Philadelphia, so I'm a NFC East guy, certainly with Cowboys, Giants, Commanders, and Eagles. We have a really great lineup here to follow come Thanksgiving. Who knows with that division what's going to happen? Certainly we have the Super Bowl champ, but that division's always really hard when they play each other. So that right now is sort of my closest to my dream come true, is we get to do the Eagles and the rest of the NFC East.
Yeah, AFC North last year was great. Much different vibe, obviously, in the AFC North, much different towns. The NFC East, I've called it for years, the glamour division, not just because the ratings it pulls and all the primetime games, but you get it. It's the Northeast corridor, all those classic matchups. NFC East is where it's at.
Yes, we're really happy to have them, and just the characters on every team as well. All 4 teams have people that you want to watch right now to see what they're up to, and we're going to get to do that.
I can't wait to see the NFC East version of Hard Knocks as well. Ken, thanks for taking us behind the scenes here on training camp with the Buffalo Bills. Thanks for taking us on another journey, a fantastic one this summer. And thanks for everything you guys do at NFL Films. We truly appreciate your time.
Thank you and your team. It's been a great season, and you're a big part of it. Thanks.
Great stuff there from Ken. I want to thank Ken again. And if you have not yet seen The Four Falls of Buffalo, which is the documentary for NFL Films that Ken did a bunch of years ago about that Bills team with Steve Tasker and Jim Kelly and Thurman Thomas and Marv Levy, Darryl Talley, go back and watch it. Go back and watch it tonight, actually. And it kind of ties everything together, as this final episode of Hard Knocks ties everything together with this team trying to win a Super Bowl and ease the pain of an entire city, of an entire region, Western New York here, that so badly wants to win. And I want to make the point here as well that I am not a Bills fan, if you haven't figured that out yet already. But after watching this show and after knowing and loving members of Bills Mafia over the years, you're rooting for them. I'm rooting for them. The cathartic moment of this team winning is going to be amazing. And with that in mind, you know what? Let's make the city of Buffalo and all of Western New York our MVP of the week. There's a cool 4 or 5 minute scene here in the final episode of Hard Knocks where Deion Dawkins and his teammates went to this car show. You saw that? And you could feel the love.
What's up, everybody? What's up? I want to thank everybody for being here. I will talk to everybody. I will take a picture with everybody. I'll smile with you. I'll laugh with you. I'll hug you. I want to see your cars. I really want to see our cars. All right? I really want to see your cars.
We're going to do a co-MVP here. And we're going to give the other MVP to Pat Harris, the director, the Rochester native. You remember him? He was on the pod back in episode 2. In the final episode, Pat went to the old train station in Buffalo. You see the shot with the sun coming through the windows and the old clock tower and the buffalo with the cobwebs, which I think that was telling as well, like trying to go back and win this one for the teams that couldn't win, like trying to escape the inertia of their past. I thought that cobweb was an amazing shot. That was, and I went down a Google rabbit hole after watching it, the Buffalo Central Terminal. It's been shut down since 1979. It's been abandoned. But imagine the party in that Central Terminal, an old train station, or anywhere throughout Western New York. I thought that shot was amazing. Some final thoughts here, although I don't know that I could sum it up better than Liev Schreiber did at the end of the show. But the Bills are one of a very, very small handful of teams this year that enter the season, enter week 1, knowing that if they don't win the Super Bowl, the season will be a massive disappointment. It's the Bills and the Chiefs and the Ravens and the Lions, and that's really kind of sort of the list. It's truly Super Bowl or bust. They have an unquestioned leader who has played so well in the playoffs that it's almost hard to wrap your brain around what more he can do. He's thrown 25 touchdowns with only 4 interceptions in the playoffs. And yet Josh Allen has never gone to a Super Bowl. This team went out and drafted defense. We've got to get the defense better. And then here through Hard Knocks, you see the stories of the back end of the roster. Players that Sean McDermott is pushing to do better because that back end of the roster knows they have an opportunity to win a championship because Josh Allen is so special. The Bills are not your prototypical Hard Knocks team. They are on the verge of winning. They aren't coming off a disastrous season. They don't have a number 1 pick. So this has been a very different Hard Knocks year. But it's also been enlightening to take you behind the scenes on a team that knows it is so close. They have leaders. They have an identity. And what happens next is why the NFL is the greatest reality show in American television. Like we see Josh Allen tell Kyle Brandt, he's already written the speech. Maybe in February we finally get to hear it. That is going to do it for our final episode of the official Hard Knocks podcast, Training Camp with the Buffalo Bills. I want to thank our guests for this episode, Steve Tasker and the great Ken Rodgers. And I want to thank you for watching as well. I have said this repeatedly. I said it to Ken. I am a bit of an NFL Films fanboy, a Hard Knocks fanboy. So when my phone rang and I got the call about possibly joining this team and doing this show, I got chills. And I said yes. I said yes immediately. This has been a passion project for me. Hopefully that passion has come through the screen or come through your headphones, because I have had a blast. Training camp might be over. The Buffalo Bills now turn to the regular season, but Hard Knocks is coming back. Hard Knocks in season with the NFC East will be out on HBO Max later this fall. And the Bills open up their season on September 7th, Sunday Night Football at home against Lamar Jackson and the Baltimore Ravens. The Hard Knocks Podcast is a production of HBO and NFL Films in partnership with Pod People. The show is produced by Buffy Gorilla, Tony Mantilla, and Brian Rivers. The show is edited for video by Kai Lee and Paul Isaacson. Carter Wogan and Morgan Foose are our sound engineers. A special thanks to Michael Gluckstadt and Kenya Reyes from the HBO podcast team. We'd also like to thank the HBO Max Interactive Design team, Marta Duarte Diaz, Karen Guan, Tom Haskard, and Nick Park, and Quentin Cohan and Rosie Shen from HBO Max Originals Marketing. Of course, a huge thank you to our partners and collaborators at NFL Films, Ken Rodgers, Katie Morello, and Pat Harris. My name is Andrew Siciliano. Thank you for watching and listening to the official Hard Knocks podcast. Football is back, everybody. Enjoy the new season.